The brave Omega shielded the Alpha King's son. The Alpha King claimed Omega before Pack. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to our main character. Emma Watts, a young Omega, stood silently in the clearing, watching as the pack gathered for the annual ceremony. The cold wind rustled the leaves, but her thoughts were far away from the ritual taking place before her. Despite her age, she had already been rejected by multiple alphas, her scent too faint to catch their attention. In the eyes of the pack, Emma was invisible, a mere shadow in the corner of their world. Her wolf was barely a whisper, and that made her weak in a society where strength was everything. No one ever noticed her unless it was to remind her of her shortcomings. Today, however, something felt different. There was a tension in the air, a feeling that something big was about to happen. She couldn't shake the sensation, and as she shifted uneasily on her feet, her gaze fell upon the figure standing at the center of the pack. It was Elijah Thorne, the Alpha King's son. He was different from the other pack members, strong, graceful, and radiating a confidence she could only dream of. Emma's heart skipped a beat as their eyes met. For a brief moment, time seemed to freeze. She quickly looked away, embarrassed by the sudden flutter in her chest. Elijah was powerful, and she was nothing, just another rejected Omega. But then, in an unexpected turn of events, chaos broke out. A rival pack member, angry and looking for trouble, stormed into the ceremony, his eyes locked on Elijah. The tension was palpable as the crowd parted, waiting for the confrontation to unfold. Emma felt a strange pull in her chest, a desire to act, to do something, anything. Without thinking, she found herself moving toward Elijah, shielding him instinctively from the approaching danger. As she stepped in front of him, the crowd gasped, watching in stunned silence. Emma, the weak Omega, was standing up to protect the Alpha King's son. Her heart raced, but she stood firm, unwilling to let anything happen to him. In that moment, the world seemed to stop. Elijah's eyes widened in surprise, but there was something else, something she couldn't quite place. Gratitude? Oh. Before she could understand what was happening, she heard the Alpha King's commanding voice ring out from behind her. Enough, Lucas Thorne, the Alpha King, declared. His voice was like thunder, shaking the very ground beneath them. The crowd fell silent, and even the rival pack member hesitated. Lucas's gaze turned to Emma, and for the first time in her life, she felt the weight of true power resting upon her. The king's eyes softened slightly, and he nodded in her direction. "You have proven your worth, Omega," he said. The words felt like a weight lifting off her chest, but before she could respond, the king continued, his tone turning serious. "You will be recognized before the pack. Your bravery has not gone unnoticed." Emma's breath caught in her throat. The Alpha King's words were not just a formality, they were a declaration. A declaration that she, the broken Omega, had finally been seen. As Lucas stepped forward, his eyes locked with hers. "From this moment forward, you are mine," he said, his voice deep and unwavering. Emma felt a shock wave run through her, her entire being reacting to the bond that was forming between them. In front of the entire pack, she was claimed, and her life was about to change forever. Emma stood still, trying to process what had just happened. Her heart was pounding in her chest as the pack members whispered among themselves, their eyes fixed on her. The weight of Lucas Thorne's words echoed in her mind. She had been claimed by the Alpha King, the most powerful figure in the pack. It was an honor she never expected, a recognition she had never dreamed of. Yet, there was still a part of her that couldn't believe it. She was just an Omega, weak and ignored. How could she, of all people, be worthy of such a claim? The sound of footsteps drew her out of her thoughts, and she looked up to see Lucas approaching her. His tall, imposing figure moved with the grace of a predator. His dark eyes locked onto hers with an intensity that made her feel both small and important at the same time. As he stopped before her, the rest of the pack remained silent, their gazes shifting between the two of them. Lucas's presence was undeniable, and it seemed as if the very air around them had thickened. Emma could barely breathe as she looked up at him, trying to steady her racing thoughts. "You've proven yourself, Emma," he said, his voice deep and commanding. "I've been watching you for some time. Your bravery today was unexpected, but it shows the strength I've always believed you had inside of you." Emma swallowed hard, trying to find her voice. "I don't understand," she whispered. "I'm just an Omega. Why would you choose me?" Lucas's expression softened slightly, though his eyes still held that powerful intensity. "It's not about your rank, Emma. It's about your heart. You've shown more courage than anyone I've ever seen. You're more than just an Omega. You're my mate, and that's all that matters now." His words sent a chill through her, and for a moment, she wondered if she had heard him wrong. But the sincerity in his eyes told her that he meant every word. The pack watched in silence as Lucas reached out, taking her hand in his. The moment their skin touched, Emma felt a warmth flood through her, as if the bond between them had already begun to form. She looked up at him in awe, realizing that this was no ordinary claim. This was something powerful, something destined. "Come with me," Lucas said, his voice gentle but firm. "You don't belong here in the shadows. You belong by my side, as my Luna, as my equal." Emma nodded, still in shock, as she allowed him to lead her through the pack. The pack members parted to make way for them, and she could feel their gazes on her, some curious, others envious. She had gone from being a forgotten Omega to the future Luna of the pack, and though the weight of it was overwhelming, there was also a sense of peace settling over her. For the first time in her life, she felt like she mattered. As they walked, Lucas leaned in slightly, his voice low enough that only Emma could hear. "You'll never be alone again. I will protect you. Always." His words, so simple yet so full of promise, made her heart swell with a mixture of gratitude and disbelief. She had never imagined that she, an Omega, would find a place where she was truly valued. But now, standing at the side of the Alpha King, she realized that this was her new reality. She was no longer invisible. She was seen, claimed, and loved. The future felt uncertain, but for the first time, Emma wasn't afraid. She was ready to face it, side by side with Lucas, her Alpha King. As Emma walked beside Lucas, she couldn't help but feel the weight of the pack's eyes on her. Every step they took was met with hushed whispers, glances of curiosity, and, she noticed, some hints of jealousy. The pack had always seen her as nothing more than a weak Omega, someone unworthy of their attention. But now, everything had changed. She was no longer just Emma Watts. She was Lucas Thorne's mate. She was the future Luna of the pack. Her heart raced, but it wasn't out of fear. It was something else, something powerful. A feeling of belonging, of purpose, was filling the empty space inside her. Lucas turned to her, sensing the tension in her posture. "You're doing fine," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "I know this is overwhelming, but you'll get used to it. You're not alone anymore." Emma nodded, trying to swallow the lump in her throat. She had never imagined her life would turn out this way. Just days ago, she had been invisible, discarded, and now she stood beside the Alpha King, walking through the pack as though she belonged. "I don't know if I'm ready for this," Emma confessed, her voice barely a whisper. "Ready for what?" Lucas asked, his eyes focused ahead, but his tone soft and understanding. "For everyone to look at me like I'm someone important. For them to know I'm yours." Lucas's gaze softened, and he slowed his pace to match hers. "You've always been important, Emma. You just didn't see it. The pack may not have recognized your worth, but I always did. You've proven your strength today, and that's all that matters." His words felt like a balm to her soul. She didn't need to be anyone else. She didn't need to fit into the pack's expectations. All she needed to do was be herself, and that was enough for Lucas. "But what about the others?" she asked, glancing at the pack members around them. "What do they think of me?" Lucas chuckled softly, his deep laugh filling the air around them. "They'll learn. You don't have to worry about their opinions. We have a bond now, Emma. Nothing matters more than that." The way he said it, so sure of himself, made her believe him. It was as if he had the power to make the world bend to their will. And in that moment, Emma realized he probably did. She felt something shift between them, an invisible thread that connected them in ways she couldn't explain. It was more than just the physical closeness or the bond of being mates. It was something deeper, something primal. "Do you feel it too?" she asked, almost afraid of the answer. Lucas nodded, his eyes meeting hers with an intensity that made her heart skip a beat. I've felt it since the moment I saw you, Emma. This bond, it's more than just destiny. It's fate, and I'm not going to let anything come between us." His words settled over her like a warm, comforting blanket. She had been afraid of the future, afraid of the unknown. But now she wasn't. She felt safe, secure in the knowledge that Lucas was by her side. As they approached the center of the pack, the murmurs of the crowd grew louder. Emma could feel the weight of their gazes on her, but instead of shrinking under their scrutiny, she stood taller, proud of the place she had earned. Lucas's presence beside her made her feel invincible. The moment they reached the center, Lucas raised his hand, and the pack fell silent. Every eye was on them as he spoke, his voice ringing with authority. "This is Emma Watts," he declared, his tone powerful and clear. "She is my mate, and she will stand beside me as my Luna, as my equal. Anyone who doubts her place here will answer to me." The words echoed through the clearing, and Emma felt a surge of pride. This was her moment. She was no longer invisible. She was seen, and for the first time in her life, Emma knew that she truly mattered. As the days passed, Emma began to settle into her new life as the Luna of the pack. The transition was not easy. She had grown up in the shadows, unnoticed and unimportant, but now, she was at the center of it all. The pack watched her every move, waiting to see how she would perform in her new role. Lucas was always by her side, guiding her, reassuring her. He never left her alone, especially not when the pack's whispers grew louder. They had accepted her as his mate, but Emma could feel that not everyone was happy with the decision. There were those who believed she wasn't strong enough to lead, who doubted her place by Lucas's side. Emma often found herself standing at the edge of the pack, watching the other women, the alpha's daughters and betas, with a sense of insecurity creeping into her heart. They were powerful, born into their roles, while she had been a nobody, just an omega. Yet, Lucas never wavered in his support. He had seen something in her, and he was determined to help her grow into the woman he believed she could be. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Lucas called her to the training grounds. Emma had never been one for fighting or training, but she knew that as Luna, she had to prove herself. The moment she arrived, Lucas was waiting for her, his arms crossed, his expression serious but kind. "You're ready for this," he said, his voice steady. "I know it's not easy, but you have the strength inside you. It's time to show the pack who you really are." Emma hesitated for a moment, then nodded. She had always felt small, but the fire inside her was beginning to burn brighter. Lucas handed her a training sword. "It's not about being the strongest," he explained. "It's about confidence, about believing in yourself. You've already proven that you have the courage to protect those you care about. Now it's time to show that you can lead." With his words in her heart, Emma took the sword and began her training. It wasn't easy at first. Her movements were awkward, and the sword felt heavy in her hands. But with each swing, she grew stronger, more confident. Lucas was patient, always offering advice, never rushing her. The evening air was filled with the sound of their swords clashing, and Emma's heartbeat quickened with each strike. She could feel the power within her, the strength that had always been there but had never been given the chance to shine. By the time the moon rose high in the sky, Emma was sweating, exhausted, but proud of herself. She had come a long way from the timid Omega who had once felt like an outsider. Lucas stood beside her, his gaze filled with approval. "You did well," he said softly. "I knew you had it in you." Emma smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment she had never experienced before. For the first time in her life, she felt like she truly belonged. The following days brought more challenges. The pack was still uncertain about Emma's abilities as Luna. There were whispers, even outright challenges from some of the older pack members, but Lucas always had her back. He never let her face anything alone. As the weeks passed, Emma's confidence continued to grow. She began to understand her role, not just as Lucas's mate, but as a leader. She made decisions, attended meetings, and slowly started to earn the respect of the pack. One evening, after a long day of duties, Emma found herself standing in the garden outside the Alpha's home. The moonlight bathed the courtyard in silver, and she felt a sense of peace wash over her. Lucas joined her, standing beside her in silence for a moment. "You've come a long way, Emma," he said, his voice gentle. "I'm proud of you." She turned to him, her heart swelling with gratitude. "I never thought I could do this," she admitted. But with you by my side, I feel like I can. Lucas smiled, his eyes softening. You've always had it in you. I just helped you see it. Emma smiled back, feeling a warmth in her chest. She was no longer the broken Omega, the one who had been cast aside. She was Emma Watts, the Luna of the pack, and she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. With Lucas by her side, she knew she could conquer anything. As the days passed, Emma grew more comfortable in her new role. The pack, though still skeptical at times, began to see the change in her. They no longer whispered behind her back as much, and she could sense a shift in their behavior. She was no longer the outsider. She had earned her place beside Lucas. And with every passing day, she proved to herself that she could do this. Lucas remained her pillar of strength, always by her side, guiding her through the challenges of being the Luna. He was patient, understanding, and never once made her feel inadequate, even when she doubted herself. Emma knew that without him, she wouldn't have come this far. But there was still something on her mind. Despite the progress she had made, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to her bond with Lucas than just destiny. She had heard the stories, the whispers of their connection being something ancient, something that went beyond mere chance. There were moments when she felt a strange pull, a connection between them that was almost mystical, like something was guiding them, tying them together in ways she couldn't fully understand. One evening, after a particularly long day of meetings and duties, Emma found herself sitting alone on the balcony, gazing out over the pack's land. The full moon hung high in the sky, casting a soft glow over everything. The sound of the wind rustling through the trees was soothing, and Emma took a deep breath, letting the cool air fill her lungs. She had always loved the night, the stillness, the sense of peace that came with it. As she sat there, lost in her thoughts, she felt a presence behind her. Without turning around, she knew it was Lucas. His presence had become so familiar, so comforting, that she could sense him even without seeing him. He stepped up beside her, his gaze following hers as they both looked out over the pack. "Beautiful night," Lucas said, his voice soft but strong, as always. "Yes," Emma replied, smiling faintly. "It's peaceful. You're at peace, aren't you?" Lucas asked, his tone curious. Emma turned to face him, meeting his eyes. There was something in his gaze, something that made her heart skip a beat. She nodded slowly. "I think so," she said. "It's still strange, but I think I'm starting to understand. This place, this life, it feels right." Lucas smiled, a rare, soft smile that made her heart swell. "You've come a long way, Emma. When I first met you, I never could have imagined this. You've grown stronger, braver, and more than I ever thought possible." Emma's cheeks flushed at his words, and she looked away, unsure of how to respond. "I couldn't have done it without you," she said quietly. "You've been my rock." Lucas reached out and gently cupped her cheek, lifting her face so that she had no choice but to look at him. "And you've been mine," he said, his voice deep and sincere. "We're a team, Emma. We always will be." Emma's heart fluttered at his words, and for the first time, she allowed herself to truly believe in the bond between them. It was more than just fate. It was love, trust, and respect. They were meant to be together, not just because the moon had chosen them, but because they had chosen each other. In that moment, Emma knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. With Lucas by her side, she felt invincible. Together, they could conquer anything. As the night stretched on, Emma and Lucas stood side by side, watching the stars twinkle above them. There was a sense of peace between them, a quiet understanding that their journey was just beginning. But no matter what the future held, they would face it as partners, as equals. And that was all that mattered. As the weeks passed, Emma found herself settling more and more into her role as the Luna of the pack. Each day brought new challenges, new responsibilities, but she faced them head-on, learning as she went. With Lucas by her side, she felt stronger than she ever had before. He had always believed in her, and now, she was beginning to believe in herself too. It wasn't easy, though. There were still whispers among the pack, doubts that lingered in the eyes of some. Some of the older wolves, those who had been with the pack for years, were reluctant to accept Emma fully. They had seen the Alpha King's decisions before, but none had been quite like this. An Omega, claiming the role of Luna? It was unheard of. Emma knew this. She could feel their eyes on her, their judgment, but she also felt something else, a quiet respect that had started to form, little by little, as she proved her worth. One morning, Lucas called her into the training grounds once again. The pack had gathered for their monthly training session, and Lucas wanted Emma to lead them. The thought made her nervous. She had never been one for confrontation, never been one to take charge in front of so many. But Lucas's presence beside her gave her the courage she needed. "You've trained for this," Lucas said as they walked toward the group. "You've shown your strength in so many ways. Now, it's time to show them the true power of a Luna." His words calmed her, but the pressure still weighed heavily on her shoulders. As they reached the center of the training grounds, the pack members quieted, their eyes fixed on Emma. She could feel their anticipation, their doubt, but also their curiosity. They wanted to see what she could do. Emma stood tall, taking a deep breath before she addressed the pack. "Today's training will focus on unity," she began, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. "We are stronger together than apart. A pack is not just a group of individuals. It is a family, and we must trust each other to survive." She glanced at Lucas, who gave her an encouraging smile. "I want each of you to partner up and work together. Show your strength as a team." The pack members exchanged glances, clearly surprised by her words. But slowly, they began to partner up, starting their drills with renewed focus. Emma watched them, her heart swelling with pride. She had given them a purpose, and they were rising to meet it. As the training session went on, Emma felt her confidence grow. She demonstrated techniques, corrected stances, and even offered advice when needed. Lucas observed her quietly, nodding in approval as he watched the pack respond to her leadership. By the end of the session, the pack was moving with a fluidity and unity that hadn't been there before. Emma had done it. She had earned their respect. As the pack dispersed, Lucas walked up to her, his eyes filled with pride. "You were amazing," he said, his voice warm. "You've proven yourself once again, Emma." Emma smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment that she had never known before. "I couldn't have done it without you," she replied, looking up at him. Lucas took her hand, his touch gentle but firm. "You did it because you believed in yourself," he said. "That's all I ever needed you to do." The days following the training session were filled with small victories. The pack's doubts were slowly fading, replaced by trust and respect for their Luna. Emma knew that she had earned her place, not just as Lucas's mate, but as the leader of the pack. It wasn't always easy, but with Lucas by her side, she felt invincible. They were a team, and together, they would face whatever challenges came their way. As the full moon rose high in the sky one evening, Emma stood with Lucas at the top of the pack's highest hill. The night was quiet, and the only sound was the wind rustling through the trees. "Do you ever wonder what's next?" Emma asked, her voice soft. Lucas turned to her, his gaze intense. "I know what's next," he said, his voice steady. "We face it together." Emma smiled, her heart swelling with love for him. She had found her place in this world, and it was by his side. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. They were stronger together, and nothing could tear them apart. As Emma stood on the balcony overlooking the vast lands of the pack, she couldn't help but feel a sense of fulfillment. The past few months had been a whirlwind of change. From the quiet Omega who had been cast aside, to the Luna standing beside the Alpha King, leading the pack with strength and purpose. She had come a long way, but there was still so much ahead of her. The full moon glowed brightly in the sky, casting a silver light over the land. Emma felt a gentle hand on her shoulder and turned to find Lucas standing behind her. "It's a beautiful night," he said, his voice soft, yet filled with that unmistakable strength. Emma smiled as she looked at him, feeling the bond between them grow even stronger with each passing day. "Yes, it is," she replied, her voice quiet but full of contentment. "I've been thinking, Lucas," she began, her gaze drifting back to the moonlit landscape. "About what comes next. About the future." Lucas stepped closer, his presence a constant source of comfort. "What do you mean?" he asked, his brow furrowing slightly. Emma turned to face him, her heart beating a little faster. "I've learned so much already, and I know there's more I have to do. But sometimes, I wonder if I'm truly ready for everything that comes with this responsibility. About wisdom, patience, and making tough choices for the good of the pack." Lucas nodded, his expression thoughtful. "You're more ready than you think, Emma. You've already proven your strength, your courage, and your heart. But I understand your doubts. It's natural. Being Luna comes with immense responsibility, and it's okay to question whether you're ready. But know this, you don't have to do it alone. Emma's eyes softened as she reached out, taking Lucas's hand in hers. I know. You've been my rock, Lucas. You've helped me grow in ways I never thought possible. She paused, searching for the right words. I don't want to let anyone down. Lucas smiled gently, squeezing her hand reassuringly. You won't. You're doing great. And you're not alone in this. I'm with you every step of the way. Together, we can face whatever challenges come our way. Emma felt a wave of gratitude wash over her as she looked into his eyes. She knew that his belief in her was unwavering, and that gave her the strength to push through her doubts. Thank you, she whispered, her voice filled with emotion. For everything. Lucas leaned in, his lips brushing her forehead in a tender kiss. You've earned this, Emma. You've earned my respect, the pack's respect, and most importantly, your own. They stood together in silence for a moment, the sounds of the night surrounding them. Emma felt a deep sense of peace in that moment, knowing that with Lucas by her side, she could handle whatever the future held. The next few weeks were filled with even more challenges and responsibilities, but Emma felt ready. She had the support of Lucas, the pack, and, most importantly, herself. One evening, as they gathered for a meeting with the other alphas, Emma took her place beside Lucas. The room was filled with the pack leaders, their eyes briefly flicking to Emma as she entered, some curious, others unsure. She knew that their respect wasn't guaranteed, but she was no longer afraid of their judgment. She had earned her place here, and she was ready to prove it. As the meeting began, Emma spoke up with confidence, offering her insights on the issues at hand. She was clear, decisive, and thoughtful in her approach. With each word, she felt the pack members slowly starting to see her not just as Lucas's mate, but as a leader in her own right. The meeting ended with a sense of unity and respect. Emma had done it. She had proven herself once again. As they left the room, Lucas placed his hand on her shoulder, his voice filled with pride. You did well, Emma. I'm proud of you. Emma smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment that she had never known before. I couldn't have done it without you, she replied. As they walked side by side, Emma realized that she had found her place, not just as a mate, but as an equal, a leader in her own right. Together, she and Lucas would face whatever challenges came their way, and nothing would ever stand in their way. The future was theirs to shape. The days following the meeting were filled with an overwhelming sense of change. Emma had faced a pivotal moment in her journey, and now the pack was starting to recognize her strength. Though the whispers still lingered, Emma stood tall, more confident than ever. As Luna, she was not only the mate of the Alpha King but also a leader, one who had proven her worth through actions and decisions. Lucas stood by her, always ready to offer his support, but it was clear to Emma that she had grown into her role. She had stopped being the Omega she had once thought herself to be, and had become the powerful woman the pack now respected. One morning, after an intense training session with the pack warriors, Emma found herself alone in the garden, the gentle breeze playing with her hair. She had come to enjoy these moments of solitude, where she could gather her thoughts and reflect on the changes that had taken place in her life. As she knelt to tend to a small patch of flowers, she heard footsteps approaching. Turning, she saw Lucas walking toward her, his expression thoughtful. I'm glad you're taking time for yourself, he said, his voice soft yet filled with concern. You've been doing so much lately. Emma smiled, wiping her hands on her pants before standing to face him. I'm just getting started, she replied. But I do need these moments. They help me think, help me stay grounded. Lucas reached out, his hand brushing hers as he stepped closer. I can see the difference in you, Emma, he said quietly. When we first met, you were unsure of yourself. But now, he paused, his eyes softening. Now, you're the Luna I always knew you could be. Emma felt a warmth spread through her at his words, but also a sense of responsibility. The title of Luna came with great weight, and she had learned that leading wasn't always about strength. It was about listening, understanding, and knowing when to make difficult decisions. I've been thinking about what comes next, she admitted. We've made so much progress, but there's still so much to do. There are still many in the pack who look at me with doubt, and I can feel the pressure of it. I don't want to disappoint anyone, especially you. Lucas stepped forward, placing his hands on her shoulders gently. Emma, you've already proven yourself. Don't let doubt cloud your vision. The pack sees you for who you are, a strong, capable leader. The ones who doubt will come around, in time. But even if they don't, I'll stand by you. Always. His words gave Emma the reassurance she needed. She took a deep breath, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. I'm ready for whatever comes, she said, her voice steady. Together, we can face anything. Lucas smiled, his eyes filled with pride. That's the Luna I've always known. Over the next few weeks, Emma continued to earn the respect of the pack. She worked tirelessly alongside Lucas, making decisions for the good of the pack, building alliances with neighboring packs, and ensuring that their future remained strong. Each success, no matter how small, felt like a victory. But there were still moments when Emma found herself questioning her abilities, when the weight of her responsibilities felt too heavy to bear. During one of those moments, when doubt was creeping into her thoughts, Lucas was there to remind her of her strength. You've come a long way, Emma, he said one evening as they sat together by the fire. I've watched you grow, not just as my mate, but as my equal, and there's nothing we can't achieve together. Emma looked at him, her heart swelling with gratitude. Thank you, Lucas, for everything. They sat in comfortable silence, the crackling of the fire filling the space between them. Emma knew that the journey ahead wouldn't always be easy, but with Lucas by her side, she felt ready to face whatever challenges came. Their bond was stronger than ever, and together, they would lead the pack into a new era. As the moon rose high in the sky that night, Emma closed her eyes and allowed herself to believe in the future, her future, one where she was no longer just an Omega, but a force to be reckoned with. With Lucas at her side, she was ready for anything. The days passed quickly, and with each passing moment, Emma grew more confident in her role as Luna. The pack, once full of skepticism, had come to see her not just as Lucas's mate, but as a true leader in her own right. Every decision she made was met with more respect and understanding. Still, the weight of leadership wasn't easy to bear. The challenges were constant, but with Lucas by her side, Emma felt unstoppable. One evening, after a long day of meetings and planning, Emma found herself walking alone through the pack's garden. The air was cool, and the scent of blooming flowers filled the night air. She had grown to appreciate these quiet moments, where she could gather her thoughts and find peace. As she reached a small stone bench, she sat down, her thoughts drifting to everything that had happened since she had taken on the role of Luna. Her mind often wandered back to the doubts she had felt in the beginning, those moments when she wondered if she was truly capable of handling everything that came with her position. But now, looking back, Emma realized how far she had come. She had proven herself to the pack, to Lucas, and to herself. She was no longer just the quiet, overlooked Omega. She was a force to be reckoned with. Emma closed her eyes, taking in the peaceful atmosphere of the garden. She could hear the distant sounds of the pack moving about, but it all seemed so far away. In that moment, she allowed herself to just be still, to be at peace. Her thoughts were interrupted when she felt a gentle touch on her shoulder. Turning, she saw Lucas standing there, his expression warm and understanding. I thought I might find you here, he said softly, sitting down beside her. Emma smiled, feeling her heart swell at the sight of him. I needed a moment to myself, she said, her voice quiet. Just to think. Lucas nodded, his eyes never leaving hers. I understand. You've been through a lot, Emma. You've come so far. Emma looked at him, her heart full of gratitude. I couldn't have done it without you, she said, her voice thick with emotion. You've been my strength, Lucas. You've believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. Lucas reached out, taking her hand in his. You've always had that strength within you, he said gently. I just helped you see it. But you did the work, Emma. You proved yourself to the pack, and you've earned your place here. Emma smiled, feeling a wave of warmth wash over her. For the first time, she truly believed in herself. She had always known that she was meant for something more, but now she was living it. She was the Luna of the pack, and nothing could take that away from her. I'm ready for whatever comes next, she said, her voice full of determination. Lucas smiled, his eyes filled with pride. I know you are, he replied, and I'll be right beside you, every step of the way. As they sat together in the garden, Emma realized that she had found her place in this world. She was no longer just the Omega, the one who had been cast aside. She was Emma Watts, Luna of the pack, and she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. With Lucas by her side, she knew they could conquer anything. The future was theirs to shape, and Emma was ready to lead them into a new era of strength and unity.